this DVD, I'll show you how to make the 3 sandals that are a part of my pattern set, the strap sandal. These are the 3 types of sandals that you can make following the directions on the strap sandal patterns. One is the flip-flop, but with the band across it so that it's more stable. And this has a rubber sole, and I wanted to show you this one too. It's the same pattern that shows you how unique you can make any of these strap sandals. This is when a friend who works in fiber collage made a piece to go over the band, and I used kangaroo with the edges turned under to make the straps. So that gives you an idea of what you could do with this strap, be it do beaded work or embroidery, needlepoint, paint it, do a leather carving. So that's why I like this style. There's so much potential in how you can customize it. This is another one that's similar, and you can see this is made out of recycled blue jeans. So here's the waistband with some the belt loops for this band to go through. So a recycled flip-flop. This is the Gladiator sandal with the continuous strap. So the continuous strap means that it can be pulled. This yellow strap is one whole big long strap, and it can be pulled to get just the right snugness against your foot. And this is another continuous strap style. Originally I had made this just as a regular sandal with a 1/2 inch wide straps, but then I saw someone with straps like a thong instead. So I realized that by changing the width of the strap, you can make a sandal with a totally different feel. So this one comes through these tabs and then wraps around the ankle. This sandal is also a totally ecological sandal because the soling is natural rubber and it's stitched on, and so there was no cement that had to be, no toxic cement that was used to adhere the sole to it. And so just 2 pieces to the sole, about as simple as you can get. One other I'd like to show you is this sandal that has 2 thick layers of vegetable tan leather here for the top sole and midsole, and then a rubber outer sole. And this one has a formed arch in it and just a simple band across. This gives you an idea of the range of different kinds of styles that you can make once you know the basics and how to make a sandal. When I cut sandal straps, I use a rotary cutter and this plexiglass ruler on a self-healing pad, and so I just cut off the uneven edge and then move the ruler over till I have the width that I want, and I usually check that with my ruler, and usually it's a 1/2 inch that I want. And then I make it as long as I want, as long as the height is. And so this is a vegetable tan leather. It's a little thin, but I used it for the demonstration. This shows you a really nice, I think it is, strap that you can purchase already cut like this, a 1/2 inch. I think it just comes in burgundy, but Land Whirlin Leather in Indianapolis sells these for a very reasonable price, so you might want to get your straps already cut. Of course, if you want the wider band cut, you do the same thing. You just, I'll move this over to about 1.5 inches, and then I can use the same rotary cutter and cut the wider strap. This is the weight of leather that I recommend that you use for making Topsoles. It's 7 to 8 ounce vegetable tan leather, and in this is, I think, the heaviest weight that you can get that you can still pretty easily cut with a pair of leather scissors. So if you want to avoid working with knives or really exhausting yourself with a pair of scissors, this is a good weight. So I'll put my sole pattern on here. Usually I would use a silver pen, but so you can see it, I'll use a regular pen. And I could use this utility knife, or industrial knife, I guess it's called, and cut. But I can also pick up the scissors and cut it. I'm just cutting it free, and then I can cut it exactly to the line where I want, and then it's a good idea to put this on the belt sander, sand the edge, and then buff it with some beeswax or gum tragacanth to make the edge nicely sealed and glossy. I'll be going through the steps for making the banded flip-flop here. I'm going to use a leather midsole because you might find it easier to get a hold of leather than a rubber midsole. I've already punched some holes from the pattern onto my topsole. I've used this 1/2 inch, half inch punch to get the slot up here. I've got to complete this with a three-quarter inch punch. Down here, for the wide band, I used this 00 hand punch to make holes at the end, and then I used the industrial knife. Well, first I used the wing dividers to make me this line 3/8 of an inch from the edge on both sides. And then when I had that line pressed into the topsole, I took this industrial knife and cut, aiming towards the center of each of these, of the little holes at the end. So now I will put cement on the underside of the top sole and the top of the midsole. Let it dry, and then when I have the two pieces laminated together, I will punch the holes down into the midsole. Just easier to do a thinner piece at a time. And if you are putting on a rubber midsole, the rubber midsole will cause your punch to kind of jump back. The spongy layer is not helpful to hammering hard with your awl to get down through the layers and make these slits. So, and I'll do I cut the midsole just a little bit outside the line, so it'll make it a little easier for me to line these two up. Alright, I'll put these in front of a fan and be back to cut the slots and slits into the midsole. So I cut a little bit outside the pattern for the midsole so that it make it easier for me to get these both overlapping each other. So now I will punch down through the midsole. So I got this hole punched. Then back here, then punched the holes at each end of the wide band. And then cut these slits. First start at one end, and then you can flip it over to get the cut all the way to the hole on the other end. And I'm going to cut off this excess on the midsole, being sure that I don't undercut with my scissors. So I'll take my midsole pattern and finish cutting out the shapes where the tabs would go in the midsole. And then when I turn my midsole over, I can get these lined up with the actual slits. Maybe I put them in a slightly different place, so I can just draw around where these cutouts should go. Okay, then I'll use this triangle and my utility knife, or an X-Acto knife. So I've got this piece pulled out and that piece pulled out, and just this one more to go. Okay, So I've got all these pieces pulled out, cut and pulled out, so that I have places for all my straps to go. The next thing would be to prepare the long straps for the flip-flops. So I'll cut those to the length that are listed on the table in the book, and skive the ends. So the ends that go through the little slit up there, I want them thinned down. So I'll do some skiving. Then I know that I want to make sure that the good sides are on the inside. They're facing each other, so the right sides are together. And I know I'm going to need a rivet in here, so I'm going to go ahead and make the hole for the rivet and insert the rivet, and then I'll put the straps through the slot on the topsole, and so I'll need some cement here so that these tabs will stay in place while I attach them by either nailing, riveting, or stitching. I eliminate cement from that, which is actually the way that maybe every sandal maker has cemented, is to use the shoe cements that have the typical smell of a shoe repair shop, and I don't want to use those kinds of cements anymore. So I'm not going to rely on the cement that I do use to hold my straps in place. I'm not sure that it would continue to hold for a long time, so I will use a more mechanical thing like stitching, riveting, or nailing to make sure that the straps stay in place. So while the longer straps are drying, I'll prepare the wide band. So I've punched holes. To go here. Punched holes at the ends of these bands, and used my triangle to aim to this very center of each of those holes, and cut through. Now I'm going to stitch this band together under the sole, so I might as well punch my stitching holes now. And to keep these two ends lined up while I punch, I'm going to put a piece of double-sided tape across. Just keeps the strap on the bottom from moving around. Okay, then I'll make a little line, kind of out of habit. It doesn't really, not going to show here for sure under the foot, but just make a line from where I'll punch and use my thonging chisel. Move it over. It looks like I get 5 punches in there. Okay. I'll put the long straps in next, and I have skived the back side of this so that it will be thinner between the toes, and then I've made the hole for the rivet to go through, so I'll do that. I'll do the riveting now, and so I make sure I put the good sides together facing each other, take a rivet that's has a cap on both sides, and then I'm just going to pound this flat. I don't want a rivet with a dome on it in this toe area. Okay, that looks good. Then I'll take these through the slit here. And get one side placed with the... I put cement on the back side of the ends of the straps so that it would stay cemented in place temporarily. And I'll get this other strap through here. And cement that tab in place. Now I have those options of nailing, stitching, or riveting. Since I'll do a rivet on the continuous strap Gladiator sandal, I will nail these tabs in place. So I'll use my anvil, these small clinch nails, and make a hole where I want the nail to go. Then hammer it in on the anvil. And so on the top I just see a little spark of metal, which is just right, so then I'll do this other one too. Alright, so got those in place. Now I'll work on the wide band. I want to make sure that when I put this wide band through that I have the slits that are closer together at the toe end. So now that I've double checked that, I'll thread this through. So I'm just making a cross stitch. It's kind of like X's but without any bars. I'm sure this is going to be strong enough down here without that extra part of the stitch. So I'll just make X's. And then when I get to the end I will tie the ends together with a square knot. Cut off the ends, and then I'll press this down onto the cement. Well, I guess I need cement on the back side of the band, so I'll do that too. So once that dries, I'll have this band then stitched and cemented, and if I want to make sure that it stays in place, I can put a nail or two as well to secure it. Now the band has been stitched and cemented down, so it's completed, and so I'm going to show how to stitch the ends of the bands in place, the ends of the strap, at the toe end, at the heel end of this strap. So I'll thread it through the wide band. Then down through this slot. You can see now why that slot is longer than the 1/2 inch that you would think the strap would go through, since it's on that angle. Now the best thing to do would be to try this sandal on and get the straps so that they're right for the person who's going to be wearing them, both the wide band and these straps. But if I'm just using the measurements that are in the book for standard length, now I would cement this end down, and then I'll punch a couple of holes. I'll raise this punch up onto the anvil so I can get at it better. Let's see. Okay, then I'll punch 2 holes. Then after those holes are punched, then I'll take a piece of thread. I guess you would use something that would match the Topsole, natural like this is, or black, and the same kind of thread that you would use for stitching around the edge of the shoe. So I can just put a needle at one end for change, and maybe 3 or 4 times up and down through those holes. Then again, tie a square knot, pull the ends tight, tie a square knot, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, there's the 2 little areas of stitching. I'm sure they're very secure, and they have a nice look. So now that I have all the straps in place, I have used some sandpaper to rough up this leather midsole, since it's got the grain side here. I can put cement there too, especially along the edges, and then I'll put it on this piece of material that I'm going to use for the bottom sole. And when they dry, we'll put them together and prepare for stitching them together. So one more time, I have applied cement to 2 layers of soling, and then I'll make sure I get this one lined up, and I've used a little thicker piece of soling, even thicker would be fine. So I'm probably not going to be able to cut this with scissors, so I would use my utility knife. There is a nice little hand well, a little machine that's operated by hand called a 4-in-1 or 5-in-1, depending upon how many different tasks it can do, that if you really get into making sandals, it's great to have. 'Cause you can cut something like this soling very quick and easy, just like as if you were operating a can opener. So I have cemented now these 3 layers of soling together, and I sanded the edge also. And when I sanded the edge, there's a little ridge of grain that sticks up around the edge. So this is a kind of a beveling tool that you can use to take that little edge off with. So you take the edge beveler all the way around the edge, on the top edge and also down below, so that when we buff it with some beeswax, or there are other substances you can use, this will be nice and glossy. Then one more tool, and this is called the Danny Marlin tool, and this will make a groove. Well, I guess it's a Danny Marlin groover. Will make a groove in vegetable tan leather, and so if we don't want the stitches, which we don't want the stitches to be right flat on the ground, even though they're not really under your sole, so they will last a long time even if you don't have a groove. But I set this distance here on this groover at about 3/16 of an inch, and then you just bring it around. Can't do this before you put the sandal together, I don't think, because unless you're really precise, because once you sand the 2 layers together, you're not quite sure where that's going to be. So I make this groove, and then what I do is groove the top too. So I'll switch to the top here. So I have that same width of the seam here, because I'm going to punch holes down from the top. Just looks neater if you punch holes from the top, and I want to know exactly where that groove is underneath so that I hit into it each time. So I don't push very hard when I do the groove on the top. I just really want a line to put my stitching on. So just make a thin line. I sanded and also buffed the edge of the sandal, and I hope you can see how the edge gleams, and the 3 different layers of soling are distinct because they have slightly different colors. Now we'll make the continuous strap Gladiator sandal. I've already cemented the top sole to this rubber midsole. Okay, so I've got the Gladiator pattern on here. I'm making marks with my silver pen of where the punches go, where the straps come out. Okay, so get my 1/2 inch punch. I have punched holes in the leather layer, and now we'll punch holes through the rubber midsole. Punch my last slot. Before I punched these slots, I went along the edge with my wing divider to make sure that I was getting these slots 3/8 inch in from the edge all around, so I have sufficient room for stitching. Okay, whoops. Okay, now I've got these 8 holes punched through both layers. Alright, now I've got all the holes marked that I need. And take my pattern and cut out where the channels should go. And then copy them on this rubber midsole. And then I'll cut through just the midsole, hopefully. This is the tool that I like to use when I'm cutting with the knife. As a strong edge, I get my hand a little further away. So I'll get this last channel cut here. And then a pair of pliers. Another probably better tool to get these slots out. Now, there's going to be straps anchored at this slot up here and this slot down there. So I'll clear out a little space for both of those tabs to go. And then we'll secure them. I've made these little spaces for the ends of the straps that are stationary. They're going to be anchored here. So I'll do the first one with nails. So just to get the end squared off, use my little triangle again. This is a store that sells quilting supplies. And so I'll bring this strap through here. My anvil, little nails, all right, got that end secured. You can see on this completed sandal that here I have a stationary buckle on a little strap, so that's what I'm going to duplicate on this sandal. In this one I see that I didn't skive the strap to make it thinner, but I did turn the one side, one strap out and catch it in the stitching, and I turned the other one in and put a little nail in it. So we'll do that. First put a punch an oblong shape here in the center of the strap so that the tongue of the buckle can go through, and then we'll use a rivet here just so you can see what it looks like and see what you think of that. I'll make a punch in the center I'm going to be cutting these ends off probably, so I'm not going to worry about getting the exact center. Okay, then I'm going to put the buckle through here. Again, be sure you've got the tongue of the buckle going in the direction that you want. I could put a little rivet there if I wanted to just keep this buckle from slipping down. I think I better. Okay, then I'll hammer this. Use this piece of iron rod in with the tongue of the buckle facing the correct direction. You can check and see how long you want this to be so that it won't hit the ankle bone. So I'm going to make a rivet right there to hold that piece in place. Okay, so that strap is has a rivet to hold it in place, and that's how it looks. A little shiny circle of metal. The other end of this I'm going to stick out between these two soles so it will get caught in the stitching. So if I put them both in, it might have been a little thick place that you would have been able to feel. So this seems like a good technique for this. So to start to put the straps through this sandal, I need to have my toe strip ready. So let's do that. So it's wider. It seems like it's about 5/8 of an inch wide. And I'll punch out the placement holes on the pattern with the smallest hole. I'm going to use a chisel. I'm going to cut these slots out with. If I had used an oblong punch, it would really weaken the leather. It would just be too much taken out. So we'll just use the chisel. And transfer them to this strip. This is the toe end here, this long end. Sure doesn't need to be that long, but I'll go ahead and leave that amount of space. So then I'll mark where to punch the holes, and then I'll cut the slot with the chisel between the holes, making sure I get the right ones paired up. It might help to put a little X in here. Okay, so punching the holes, trying to get them the same distance from the edge. Okay, I'm going to use this chisel, 3/4 inch chisel. You can use be nice to have a chisel that was 5/8 of an inch. Maybe something metric I could get. But I'm trying to center this on the holes that I've punched. I'm glad I had those X's there, so I punched these where they belong. I have my slots made, and I'll clean off the X's and other marks I made with the silver pen. I'm going to skive that so it can fit through this round hole here, and then not be felt between the toes. So here's my last slit, probably, and I want it to start folding about 1.5 inches from this last slit. So that's where I'm going to start skiving. Not too much, because we do still want this to be strong, but we want it to be able to fold. I'm going to put a rivet in the fold. Okay, that's probably enough. I'll measure this. The rivet is 1.5 inches from the bottom slot, so I'll measure down 1.5 inches, mark it on the back side where I'll put this rivet. So we'll get the second to the smallest punch, make punch, got these as close to the edge as I can without weakening that area. I'll get the rivets that look good on both sides. Here's one with the smallest. Post I can find. So I've doubled that up. Get it lined up. Okay, so that looks like it's going to be more comfortable between the toes, folded like that. I'm going to stick this through this hole. And I would try this on to see how this felt. So I'm going to wait till I weave the straps through before I secure that toe end, that toe strap. We go through the first slot and out the second. I'm going to skive this end just a little bit. Pull it through a little easier. And going through this slot, look on the back side, and there's the groove that I go through down here. So far so good. And I don't know how tight to pull these straps. I won't know till I put my foot on the sandal and then pull the straps so they're adjusted the way I want them. And then if the straps stretch over time, then I can continue to pull on them, keep them tight. Put it in this next groove. The next slit. And then comes out here. Whoops. Got to get it through both slots. There we go. I didn't make this strap as long as it needs to be. It needs to be something like 68 inches. And I didn't have something that long handy. I have this upper and strap working almost finished. So I tried it on, and this was the length of straps at each part of my foot that fit me. This wraps around the back of the heel. I'll put some photos of this on my blog. And then I decided to just catch this toe loop out here. I could put in a nail, but I'm just going to catch it in the stitching out here. I think that it will be secure. So I skived it a little better all the way to the end. So I'll stitch around this, and then well, I may go ahead and put on the natural rubber soling, because I think I'm going to wear these. I thought I was just making a sample, but I really like them, and I like to wear the natural crepe. I'm going to put masking tape over the straps here so that when they get pulled they won't. First of all, I don't want them to stick with the cement, and secondly, I don't want them to have cement on them if they get pulled to the top side. The soles are dry so I can assemble the Gladiator strap sandal now. So I'll center this at the toe, and then feel back here that I've got it on the rubber. You can see where I have that toe strap sticking out. So now I'm going to stitch this all the way through all 3 layers. If you're going to do this by hand, you would punch, well, you would have punched before you put the rubbery layer on. You would punch through those top 2 layers with this 1/8 inch wide punch, and then you would hand stitch around the edge. Since I've got a electric sewing machine, I'm going to use that. And then I'll sand the edges, buff them, and show you the results. I'd like to show you the completed Gladiator sandal. Got my straps all in place and stitching done, and the natural rubber has been cemented to the bottom. The edges are smoothed off. Here's how the Gladiator sandal looks on a regular human foot. You can see how this goes around the ankle and buckles here, the end of the strap, and I can keep tightening these straps as long as I wear the sandals. The straps will always be snug against my foot. The third sandal style in my patterns is for this continuous strap, and since I've said we're using a thinner strap, so I guess this is a continuous thong. But if these straps were 1/2 inch wide, you'd have a standard continuous strap style. This one, I like this one a lot. One thing it's kind of puzzling of which one do you pull to tighten it up, what's the lacing pattern. And so here you can see that it's just under the toe, then 2 thin strips there, and back here I made this piece that you find in a lot of sandal patterns. It's this tab that is inserted and goes across from one side to the other, and then you just thread the thong through there, or your strap, and then this would usually be quite long, like these are. This is a pair of mine, have a long thongs that go around the ankles a few times. So I will eventually, I'm not sure if I'll use a midsole on this or not. That's not much to be uncomfortable under the foot with, I don't think. So I would probably just put another, whoops, boy, shows how much I've worn these. But this one will, I'll put that same natural rubber soling on it. At the beginning of this sandal making video, I briefly showed you this sandal that seems different than the others. For one reason it's different is because it has such thick layers of soling. There's 2, I'd say they're 12 to 14 ounce pieces of leather, and also it has this molded arch, and then the Birkenstock soling has been cemented on. I'd like to show you how to make this arch in the sole. I think everything else has been described elsewhere in this DVD. And to do that, I need to soak 2 layers of soling. So I don't recommend using your baking pans for this as a general rule, but for this it's in a lifetime use, I think it'll be okay. So I'm going to let this get totally saturated with water, and then you let it dry and keep testing it with your thumbs, because you just push that arch into it with your thumbs. So it's been maybe 20-25 minutes, and this seems like it's holding an arch right now. So I'm just molding it the best that I can, and I'm going to keep doing that to both layers of soling. Got to cut your fingernails on your thumbs short if you don't want those marks to show up. And this is the top piece of soling. So I'll keep pushing every few minutes, and I want to exaggerate, get the arch higher than I would ever really want, because it does collapse when you put the 2 together, and then over time there's a bit of collapsing. So just keep at it. And here are the 2 soles that have the arch molded into them, and the cement on them is dried. So I'll adhere this right on top of the arch, trying to then pull this much back into the actual shape as possible, but this looks good. So that, then of course we would have had some kind of straps here, or a slide vamp. This is a belt sander, one that is very useful in making your sandals look good. If you want to even off the edge here, then a belt sander is the best way to do that. So I'll show you the process. Okay, I have them pretty much evened up, and the last thing I would like to do is to apply some beeswax and buff the vegetable tan leather, and then we'll be finished. This is the buffer that I've put together with a motor and a 4-inch oak wheel and a little bigger wheel to keep me from slipping off the edge. You might be able to get some buffing equipment from a shoe repair shop that's going out of business, but if not, this is one way to go. Also, you can just rub the beeswax onto the edge of the shoe, of the sandal, and then just rub it really hard with a paper bag. So, but I will show you how this buffer works. So I'm putting beeswax all around the edge. Now turn the motor on, and this beeswax will kind of seal the edges of the leather and make it glossy. Okay, I don't know if you can see a little shine there, but it really gives the sandal a finished look.